So hello and welcome to our info session today. And thank you very much for your interest in the MBA from Grenoble Ecole de Management. And it's an honor to meet with you and share our program, answer our questions, and hopefully give you some tips if you are thinking of studying in France and for that next phase in boosting your career. So we'll just take a second to introduce ourselves. My name's Jinnie Hinderscheit, and I am the head of marketing for the MBA and the DBA program. And I guess we'll pass the reins on to my colleagues here to quickly introduce themselves.
Great. Okay, so I'm Chahndra DalPont. I am the program manager for the MBA, both the full-time and the part-time programs.
And hello, everybody. My name is Simon Forres. I work in the admissions department for Grenoble Ecole de Management. So if ever you have any questions more specific to the admissions process, that's what I am here for.
Hey, thank you. So just briefly tell you what we're going to present today. So I will very quickly give you a snapshot of GEM, our school, Grenoble Ecole de Management. We lovingly call it GEM and Grenoble. And then we'll dive into our real topic for today about the MBA program, and Chahndra here will present that. And then Simon will tell us how we can learn more and the application process. And then we'll open it up to the best part of the webinar, and that's the Q&A. So we can answer any of your questions and have a lively conversation about anything you would like to know. All right, so just very quickly, it's our school. I find it very nice to share our mission statement because this really is grounded in our coursework and a lot of the motivations about why you are probably looking to our school. So with our expertise in technology and innovation management, our close links to the local territory and ecosystem, and our capacity to anticipate and support transitions, we are using education and research to provide responses to the major challenges of the 21st century, and thus contributing to a fairer, more peaceful, and more responsible world. So quickly, we are one of the top 1% of global business schools with triple accreditation, top ranked in France and the world with Financial Times. We have over 200 international academic partners, as well as 190 profs, half of whom come from around the world. As you can see, 7,000 students with over 120 nationalities and 45,000 alumni. So a long history and a rich cohort. So our campuses, our main campus is in Grenoble, France, but we also have a brand new campus in Paris, and we have what we call GEM Labs, also in Grenoble, which is a building dedicated to innovation and experimentation. And Grenoble. So you see how beautiful it is. So we are very much a tech hub. We're known as the Silicon Valley of France and situated in the heart of the Alps. We're known for our higher education and research. It's very much an international city and a social and economic hub. Another beautiful photo. So a bit about Grenoble. We're founded in the 600 innovative startups in Grenoble, along with being a tech hub of some major international companies. I'll let you just take a look here. We have 6 sectors of excellence, and of course, sports and mountains, not surprising, but also in energy, healthcare, electronics, chemistry, and industry. And now we'll get to the heart of the program. But of course, if you have any other questions during the Q&A, I'm happy to answer them about our city and the school. And Chahndra?
Thanks so much, Jenny. Thank you for presenting Grenoble. It's really our home. Obviously, in this next picture, you can see we're surrounded by mountains. So we have really an amazing view, 360 all the way around. So it's a beautiful area. And one of the reasons students like to come, obviously, is because our program is triple accredited. I was just talking about the fact that I'm actually speaking from Mannheim, Germany, because I'm with one of those triple accredited associations right now, EFMD, which is like EQUIS, for an MBA convention. So I'm not in our beautiful France and in Grenoble right now, but I can talk to you a little bit about the program. So obviously the ecosystem of Grenoble is really focused on two things. One is tech and innovation. As Jinnie had mentioned, it's really a hub. And at the same time, we are really have a green focus. So I would say that the ambiance in the area is really focused around this kind of twin idea of bringing in sustainability and all of the focus on a durable future, shall we say. And also, you can't talk about the future without talking about digital at the moment. So that's really the focus of the program at the moment. It is definitely an experiential learning. We are hands-on, so the classroom really is going to ask that you participate fully and you engage. And the richness of the program comes from the participants, in fact. You're going to be sharing from your experience. You can be working on business cases, live cases, and we expect not only your participation, but also your experience sharing. So we have three tailored specializations that we'll talk about in a minute. But the program is focused on a core course around the idea of a sustainable future. So it is definitely a full-time program. We're talking 10 months of very intensive classes, so at least 18 hours per week, face-to-face classes. Some weeks are 30, some weeks are 15. But basically, you can count on being in the classroom pretty much every day or every morning, plus an afternoon or two. In addition to that, of course, you're going to have some French classes every week to improve your French while you're in. We're aligned as far as our values go with when we talked about a sustainable future. We are a société à mission. So société à mission meaning that we are focused on the sustainable future. We are basically like a B Corp, if you're aware of that in the US, but in France, it's Société à Mission. So it's basically a company with a mission, which means we have to live up to what we preach. We also are aligned with our chairs, one of them being the UNESCO chair for culture of economic peace. And this is definitely going to be integrated very much in our strategy classes and our leadership classes, talking about how to create sustainable future, sustainable strategies. You also are going to be going on an immersive international business trip. This year, we are going to Berlin, and in Berlin, we are going to be focusing on digital transformation. So it's really a tech hub. So we'll be visiting startups, tech hubs. Normally, the idea is we are going to Tesla and a few other companies in the area. We'll also be meeting with some of the alumni in the area through an alumni mixer. So we're integrating not only corporate visits, the classroom, and also networking in the same week, as well as, of course, some cultural visits. We also have something very similar, which is Corporate Expedition Week. So this year, just as an example, we spent one day a little bit to the south of Grenoble, and we went to what's called Maison Pic. So Pic is the most Michelin-starred restaurant chef in the world. That's a woman. We visited her establishment in the south, and we visited her 5-star hotel as well as her 3-star restaurant. We learned a little bit about the luxury sector there, so that was very interesting, and as well as sustainability, how they incorporate sustainability not just in the hotel sector for them, but internationally. I think she has 10 Michelin stars internationally, including a new restaurant in Dubai, but I think it's Hong Kong, Paris, etc. And we spoke to the director of the headquarters there about their corporate strategy as well as sustainability. And that was just the morning. So then we also visited Rossignol, which is the ski company you might be aware of. We also visited Chartreuse. If any of you happen to know that drink, we saw the head of marketing, who is also the adjunct director of Chartreuse, talked about sustainability and how they're managing the strategy of their organization, etc. So we had an alumni mixer, and we did some leadership team building on a rowing at the rowing club because we are on the river. So we spent half a day doing that. We spent one day with a TEDx speaker who came from Sweden to talk about corporate presentations, things like that. So we do these kind of immersive 1-week intensive groups where we also integrate our part-time program from Georgia, and everyone is able to expand their network, both with alumni and with current students. Let me see. It's definitely
Chahndra, I
so,
don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to say
sure.
to anyone wanting to know a little bit more about what it's like, this experience of these company visits and your trips from this, this last month, is to go onto Chahndra's LinkedIn. She's very active and very close to her students and alumni, and you'll get a real feel for what the hands-on, sort of experience of in this MBA program. So sorry to interrupt there, but I think it was
No,
very nice way to
that's true.
see what
It's a little
goes
bit
on
more
in the
detail there.
program.
I don't have to go into too much detail that way here, but yeah, definitely, we share photographs, so it actually did happen. It's fascinating. You can see the smiles on everybody's faces. We did wine and cheese tasting. I mean, I didn't even go into half of it. So it is really interesting, these kind of experiences. We want you to get into the cultural experience, the business experience, the networking experience, and of course, the learning experience. I mean, all of it has to play together to create this kind of unique opportunity, once in a lifetime learning opportunity. And what's part of that learning opportunity is really the international level that we have, which means obviously the students come from everywhere. We're not talking about a French group. We're really talking about an international cohort, which I would say is 95% international, meaning there may be a French or two in the class, but it's not going to be heavily French with one or two people, and we call it international. It really is international. The same thing is very true for the teachers, where we have a huge variety of international teachers from Lebanon, from China, from Denmark, from Italy, from I'm trying to think of some of the other ones.
US.
And I'm drawing up. Yes, thank you.
So you can hear
Sorry.
American accent.
Sorry, I'm an American. I couldn't even think of that. Anyway, so it's incredibly international. We think that that's very important. Brazil, etc. So I think when we talk about international, it's also important to think about who the faculty is, who the students are, where we go. So that should all be taken into account when you're thinking about doing your MBA. Great. Yes, so program recognition. So this is actually incredibly important. If you're considering coming to France, you need to make sure that you understand the differentiation in between a master's, which has been guaranteed by the state. So it should have a diplôme conférant grade de master. I'll say that without a French accent, but basically it's the Ministry of Education, which has accredited our program, which is very important, rather than just the Ministry of Labor, which we also have. So these two things are very important. That way you can make sure that your diploma is recognized outside of France for visas, for working in the public sector, to continue on with your education, etc. So that's incredibly important. And of course, we are recognized by AMBA, which is a very strict accreditor for the MBA programs. So we have to make sure that we are always up to date with all of our levels of quality. So it's really a level of quality assurance, I would say, the triple accreditation, as well as the Ministry of Education. Thanks. Okay, so obviously we are also well ranked. So we have been recognized all the way around, not just being triple accredited and also by the state, but we are also, of course, ranked in Financial Times. We are in the top 100 internationally of all MBAs. Listed by the Financial Times, as well as in the QS ranking. So we're 7th in France, for example, and we're in the top 100 again worldwide. So obviously you want to know where you're going to be going after you finish your MBA, because obviously you're doing this not just for the fun of it, because it is an amazing experience, but it is a lot of work, of course, and you know that this is your time, and this is a big investment, not just of your time, but financially and otherwise. You obviously, many people who join have their own families, they have children, everything kind of goes on the back burner for a minute, even though it's only 10 months and it is intensive. That is your engagement, and after that you can work on your thesis or your professional experience, which allows you either an internship or any other kind of job, or if you're going to launch your own entrepreneurial venture. So you need some professional experience, absolutely. But then once you've invested all this time and energy, what do you come out with? So obviously you come out with a recognized diploma, triple accredited institution, a well-ranked and recognized institution, a quality education, an amazing experience, and a rich network. But then from there, you either can stay in France or move on. If you're looking for a job here in France, half of the people who graduate from our program do stay in France and work in France. We have people working, for example, in Amazon, in Renault, etc. Or go abroad. We have a lot of people in Zalando, for example, in Germany, Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, etc. And according to the statistics, 45% of the students have said that they're working in a position which has an impact towards sustainability. So you can see from the statistics that people do find jobs pretty immediately after the program. Obviously, you start to look for a job while you are studying, but it does open a lot of doors either through the networks that we make, the companies that we visit. There are, global challenges that we participate in as well for your visibility. But obviously, that work is definitely in your hands as well. We do have a career center, but we don't give you a job. We give you the capacity to make the best impression and to further your knowledge, further your network to get the job of your dreams. So
I think something interesting about this, Chahndra, as well, to tell, the story is that people, there's a population that use the MBA to maybe make a change in their career path, or to get a boost, or to switch countries, or not for everyone. Sometimes they're fast-tracked to senior management, and sometimes it's about making a needed change. But we can see that maybe right at graduation, salaries don't look quite as high, but we see also, it's euros and dollars, but you can see that within 3 years, there's a 70% increase in salary. So this is sort of that, little bit of work, taking a year out, but you can see immediate returns on investment within those first few years of doing an MBA. And I think it's important to see.
Yeah, and it's important to understand that the reason, again, why you're not necessarily going to jump immediately is because often, like Jinnie said, you're making a change, actually. So you might be changing horizontally or vertically. And so that change means that you may come in with a smaller increase, but then once you've kind of proven yourself in that role, you're easily identified, and people do move up very quickly once you've been identified for your ability to strategize, analyze, and move things forward, in fact. Yes. The study trips. So we are obviously kind of central in Europe, which is very nice. We're going to use this as a launch pad. People like to do a little bit of exploring around Europe since you're here. So weekends, holidays, and things like that. However, we also have our study trips, and I did mention that briefly. We do go to Berlin. We're going to Berlin at least this year. As long as that is relevant, then we'll keep going there. As long as students seem to find great benefit in it, great. Previously, we used to go to Barcelona, for example. So it really depends on the alignment of and the purpose of that visit and the purpose of the module that we're using to train that. Maybe we could decide to do sustainability in the Nordic countries. Maybe we could talk about luxury, for example, in Paris. Whatever the focus is, that's where we're going to go. So, for example, when we do our specialization, because we have the 3 specializations that I did say that we have 3, then we'll talk about them in a minute. One of them being marketing, focused on the luxury sector, and the luxury sector in the transformation towards sustainability at the moment. So that specialization is run out of our Paris campus, which makes sense because obviously if you're going to be talking about luxury, you're going to be talking about Milan, you're going to be talking about New York, you're going to be talking about especially Paris. So those 3 weeks do happen in Paris. So there's a lot of movement, and we also have a partner school in Georgia where we run our part-time program. So the discussion is with them to align because you may not know, but actually Georgia is one of the, I would say, economic hubs of the Eastern European bloc, and therefore there's a lot of banking, and they have a very strong finance sector. Therefore, our finance specialization, we are discussing with the possibility to run a specialization 1 week out of Georgia to make it interesting. So great. So here was a a couple of snapshots from
Looks like
our
some
corporate
fun
expedition.
too. So
It really was interesting, actually. So the first picture up on the left, so I didn't talk about that. This was a mixture between the alumni and some of the students currently. What we did was we went to one of our sites, which is the GEM Labs. So this is a phygital space, so digital and physical. And one of the spaces that we have there is called the playground. So GEM actually has its own playground and games, so serious games, obviously. Innovation Center. A lot of our games are focused around innovation, creativity, and sustainability. And so we actually did a half day where we invited some of the alumni to come with us and participate in a game. So we did an innovation game, which actually is called RIP Innovation. So RIP Innovation, Rest in Peace Innovation. And it's not so much about how to create innovation, but how to understand why innovation dies. So how do you create things that you imagine would be amazing and they fall flat? Where was the point where somebody should have said stop? So, and what are the commonalities? So we're constantly going through different games, and games are part of our learning process at GEM. So that was a half day there. The second picture on the right, that was the Maison Pique. So we talked about the Michelin star restaurants. And in that little glass table are all of the Michelin books that have ever existed. And this is an interesting family-owned restaurant, actually. It's been in the family for generations. And like I say, the restaurant chef at the moment, you may have seen her on Netflix, Anne-Sophie Pique. If any of you like to watch some of the cooking challenges, really interesting. And she is the chef there at that restaurant. We spoke to, like I said, the executive head manager there, as well as the HR manager. Down below was the bistro where we went to eat from Maison Pique. It was a fabulous lunch that we had all together. And you can see the nationalities. When I'm talking about different nationalities, you know, we had a student from Georgia, we have India, we have Colombia, we had Poland, we have Lebanon, China, etc. So Hungary, Russia, I can see some of our people. And then at the bottom right, that was our wine tasting that we did in a design co-working area. And we invited the teachers as well to come and share a moment with us. So some of the teachers from the program also came by and shared a drink. And we learned all about the local wines, which are produced in the Isère region. So it's not a very well-known winemaking region, shall we say. And they're quite rare wines, but they were really excellent. And it was just a really nice time networking together. And of course, the Chartreuse bottles, I don't know if you recognize them from Quentin Tarantino's movies, but he's a big fan, and it's a very amazing, naturally green drink that's made by monks, but I won't tell you more until you come next year. Great. All right, so this is the graduation ceremony, by the way. They're always a lot of fun. Students come back to do their graduation because the graduation is delayed from the time that you leave after the 10-month program. You do your 10 months, like I say. Then you have a certain amount of time where you have to do your professional experience. You can ask for an exemption from that, but again, you can do either, you can either get a permanent job, a temporary job, an internship, etc. The internship obviously allows you to stay in France a little bit longer, to live and work in France if you don't find a job per se straight away. And then afterwards, once that happens, then we have a certain period where we have to assess all of your work. And then we decide yes or no, you receive a diploma, and then people come back and we celebrate the diploma together in a wonderful event. So that was the program. Core courses, obviously we work on the core courses that I think that any MBA provides. Obviously, you have all of the finance section, you have operations, project management, things like that. You are obviously going to go through, you know, leadership. We have HR, we have negotiating strategic partners, so contracts, we have some law, we have global risk, which includes managing crisis, which includes geopolitical risk, etc. So I would say it's kind of a standard set of core courses, but they're maybe more strongly aligned with that focus on a sustainable partnerships, sustainable future, sustainable economy, ecosystems, etc., that you should be working with and tapping into. In addition to all those things, so this is important, is that you're going to be working on a live business case that we call a capstone consulting project. So you have 15 hours of consulting training integrated into the program. So you are going to learn about consulting management, which is then applied immediately in the capstone project, which you will work in groups. So you have a live business case with, for example, this year, we're working with BD, which is a pharmaceutical delivery systems organization. It's a company out of the US, but they have their headquarters in Grenoble. And we're working with them on some marketing of their products. So we're going to be working with them for 3 months, and we have little touch points with them. So we have our first launch at the end of March. And then we're going to be doing touch points and doing a final pitch in front of a jury, which includes a representative from BD, from the company, as well as myself, as well as the professor. And in groups, everyone will be presenting their solution to the problem that's presented, just like any consultant. And after that, you do a written section, which is basically your own personal input above and beyond that. So that's the capstone project. After that, we've already spoken about the immersive business trip, for example, in Berlin, the corporate expedition week we've already discussed. The induction week, so this is, I think, something very special. This is where we take a week to really sit down and get to know each other before we begin. I'm very much involved in this week. I think it's one of my favorite parts of the year, actually, because I really think it's important to understand who you're working with, get to know each other better, talk about your personal objectives in the program, but of course we do it in a fun way, very much gamified. I'm a big fan of gamification within the program. So for example, we move people around the room and we mix and we intermingle, or we put challenges together. I worked last year with the Georgian group using Lego Serious Play. So if anyone knows Lego Serious Play, again, I won't give it away, but this is something that was very successful to talk about what is your strength and how are we going to work together, basically. And then lastly, we also have things like simulations. So sometimes we have global challenges. We're going to be launching a global challenge with Newcastle University, actually. So they invite us to send participants, and I think there are going to be 6 groups of 5, and our students will participate, and one of the groups will be winning a cash prize. So we participate in these kind of simulations, but we also participate in the CESIM integrative simulation, which is basically, I think it's beginning of the spring semester, where you'll be integrating things like operations, accounting, and marketing, and trying to think of some of the other ones, into basically a simulation where you're talking about a generic product, some product, and you're going to be doing a simulation to project and strategize, and you're competing against each other in little groups within the MBA. So there's a lot of integrative pedagogy that we apply, and that will allow you to practice your skill set and things that you've learned. Okay, so we do have 4 categories, I think 4 objectives, 4 sectors that we're going to be talking about in your core courses. For example, we're going to be leading organizational transformation. I think that's really important when you're focused on leading your company. You need to understand how to lead change management. So leading teams and transformations is really about change management, both organizationally and as a leader. So understanding yourself a little bit better as well, to be able to apply change management theory into your strategy. Empowering managers and teams. So obviously, this is also about how you're going to lead your teams differently. So you have to understand yourself, then you have to be working within your team, managing your team, then you have to be managing the organization, then organization managing connections with outside in the ecosystem. So this is the second part. The next one, management of technology and innovation. This is, I think, a cornerstone that GEM is founded on. The MBA was actually launched, I think, in 2000, and it was a request from IBM back then to work on a program around e-commerce, actually. So we were born out of management of technology and innovation, actually. And so we're going to be focused on not just digital changes, for example, but creation of value. So I'll put that one aside. Finance and operations, I think it's obvious. It pops up in any MBA course as well. Business vision and foresight, again, we're really focused on sustainable futures. Okay, so we're not just talking about climate change and the environment, because that is a factor, absolutely. But we're also talking about how we engage with the people that we're leading, the people that we're hiring. You know, how do we treat people? How do we make a sustainable relationship between other people, with ourselves, with the environment, with our ecosystem, etc. And so that needs to be integrated into your strategy if you want to have kind of a long-term advantage. I think too many companies, and including politicians, etc., are very much focused on the short-term visions. But if you really want durability, then you really need to be focusing on long-term. And I think the rest is, yes, perfect. Specializations. All right, so at the moment we have 4 specializations. Financial management and advisory. I think that speaks for itself. I did mention already luxury and the fact that we're focused mainly on marketing. So this is brand, so it's a product development and brand management, product management, etc. But again, it's for luxury, as luxury is in the state of transformation. So that's okay. Entrepreneurship. Obviously, you may be coming in with your own idea, or you could be thinking about corporate entrepreneurship. And so obviously, corporate entrepreneurship is really about the entrepreneurial mindset. So you're coming into the program thinking about how do you become a change maker within the company, within the organization, to find value and then leverage that. So that's really entrepreneurship kind of on both sides, externally and internally. And last, of course, I think advanced business analytics. It's basically business analytics because we do talk about value creation through digital in the core courses. So everyone has that. But if you decide that the other 3 are not for you and you're really interested in business analytics, you know, finding creation and value through data streams, understanding the impact of AI and the business uses, etc., then that would be definitely something interesting for you. But again, we need to focus also on the ethical side of things. Okay. And this is my favorite because actually, to be honest, I am an alumni from the program. So I graduated in 2016. So this is very near and dear to my heart. This is all about alumni and how we work with the alumni by making sure to integrate alumni into our program. So not just in networking and having drinks, you know, for example, we do 2 mixers in Paris, 2 mixers in Grenoble, and a mixer in Berlin each year. And I'm hoping to expand that beyond that, for example, in London, where we do have a lot of alumni as well. So we do offer, I would say, a lot of things to the alumni, but we also allow them, and I'll say allow because we don't make them, they're really happy to come back and participate, come and speak to students in classes, give their practical experience and share that. They're very active in Corporate Expedition Week. They allow us an entry point into their companies for visits. They help to give us perhaps some interesting jobs lined up specifically for MBA, etc. And what we want to offer them back, aside from just those opportunities, is also masterclasses, for example, an opportunity for quarterly webinars where they can come and they can share. So we do that quarterly. Like I say, it's 4 times a year. Usually one is given by, for example, a professor in the school who's doing something innovative and interesting, like data streams. So we had an expert on data streams and finding value through data streams who gave a conference. Another one was an expert speaker, so an external speaker talking about change management and leadership. The next one, we have 2 alumni coming up, and the one that's coming up next is about remote work and leveraging remote work and diverse teams. So these master classes are an opportunity for them to come and share and to, I would say, yeah, I would say share their experience and allow a little bit of visibility on what they're doing currently. So we have the master classes. We also have co-development sessions, which are basically when an MBA says, okay, look, I've got this current problem and I would really love some help solving it. And I want to look outside of my company to do that because you need an external voice. And they come in with a question and we set a time. And then the other alumni can just join in and basically troubleshoot or analyze the suggested answer, etc. So that's a co-development session that we run. And then we also have Teams where we can do sessions for best practices, sorry, or we can have interest groups, etc. So that's always nice. And I think
All right,
that's it.
I think that was a pretty good dive into the program. But of course, if you have, there's lots that Chahndra didn't cover. It's an intensive year, very enriching, and she's happy to answer any other program-related questions you might have. So you're probably wondering how you can also find out more information. Since many of you are logging on from all over the world, we have support teams all over the world. So this is their contact information. They can answer any of the admissions related question or sales related questions, I guess, what you want to know about the program, visas, what it's like to study in Grenoble. And they're happy to help guide you along the way. So please feel free to reach out to them. And we will send you this information as well after the call. And as well, we are also available to answer any questions you might have. And now I will hand the reins to Simon, who will talk about the admissions. So Simon?
Thanks, Jinnie. Thank you. Yes. Just in fact, I'm going to mention our recruitment officers, foreign recruitment officers that we were just mentioned right now again. Very quickly, I want to make it very clear, this is completely free of charge. This is a free service that the school provides to really help all applicants understand what we're expecting of them. Also to make sure that you're choosing the right program for your needs. If you need more information, they're there to provide it. Even if you don't go forward with your application, they're there to guide you regardless. So really don't hesitate to contact them. It doesn't commit you to anything. It's really a really great first contact for you. And most of them are either an alumni of the program or have very close ties with the school for 20 plus years. So it's really, really an invaluable resource that we highly recommend using.
Absolutely. We just to say they'll have extra insights both on your local needs, if they come from the same country and area as you, and what you would need for your visas, any sort of questions you might have, they'll be able to answer that for you.
They're great. Don't hesitate. So coming back to the admissions side of things. So
Also
first
great.
of all, here's also great. A bit more technical, so bear with me. We have an online application platform. So this is the link right here. I imagine this will be shared with you later. And of course, you can consult our website here if you want to find out a little bit more about the specifics of the MBA program. But given that you're present here listening to our presentation, I'm sure you're going to get most of it out of this talk today. Myself, Simon Ferres, and my colleague Virginia Harvey would be happy to answer any questions you also have. You can contact us at the email address at the bottom of this page here, which is admissions@grenoble em.com. Sorry, Jinnie.
Yes.
We'll correct that before it gets shared with you guys. No worries. But it's our traditional suffix for our email addresses. We'll correct that. All right. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, of course, we have some technical requirements for you to be eligible to enter an MBA program. As we mentioned, this MBA program is accredited by the French government. Therefore, you would receive a full French recognized master's degree, which would then allow you to continue on to a PhD later in life if that's what you were intending to do. But this means that we have very strict requirements as to who is allowed to enter. And this means that you need to have a bachelor's degree. It needs to be a 3-year bachelor degree is fine. It doesn't need to be a 4-year one. So what we expect is the equivalent of 180 ECTS, which is a 3-year bachelor's degree. We don't really expect it to be in any one subject. We appreciate diversity, people who come from the humanities, people who come from a more technical background. Everybody is welcome. What we expect is that you were a good student. We look at transcripts, we look at your profile, we make sure that your academics are strong. but we also really look at your work experience. Now, this is obviously very important given that the MBA is a more senior program. We expect that you have at least 3 years of full-time work experience post-graduation. So we don't usually count internships in these 3 years. So just so you know. And of course, we will ask about your experience in terms of managerial experience. And if you have any experience as a manager of a team, this will, of course, highly help your application move forward. Now, furthermore, we expect that you are able to speak English because, of course, this program is fully delivered in English. Therefore, we need to ensure that you have all the competencies at hand to be able to succeed on the program. We accept certain tests. Now, for the French candidates here, we like to remind you that we do not accept the TOEIC, mainly because it is a multiple choice test, which does not test your oral or written skills. Therefore, we only accept the TOEFL, the IELTS, the Cambridge Advanced Proficiency or Business Higher. We also accept the Duolingo test. And of course, if your bachelor was already taught fully in English, we can waive this English requirement. And also, if you're a native English speaker coming from a clearly Anglophone country, you will not have to provide one of these tests, rest assured. You can see the levels for which we expect each of these tests to be submitted. So 90 on the TOEFL, 6.5 on the IELTS, 110 on Duolingo, and we require that you have at least a passing grade, which is a C, I believe, in the Cambridge exams. In the application form, the link that we shared previously, you will be asked to provide us with a motivation essay. It's a pretty short essay, between 400 and 600 words, so we're not expecting you to write a dissertation. The idea being that you simply put forward what makes you an exceptional candidate and a good fit for our program. That's what we care about the most. We identify when students write AI-generated essays because usually it has nothing to do with themselves. What we want to see is what makes you a unique candidate, and usually that's something that you can't ask AI to really talk about unless you're really good at writing prompts. But that's also a skill, so we're happy with that. Anyways, the idea is please be sure to make your essay personal, make it relevant to your situation, and make it make sense to us. Why does joining the MBA make sense in your professional career and your path towards your objectives? All right. We ask for one professional reference, which basically means we ask that you, not a reference letter. We don't ask anybody to write letters of recommendation or long essays. What we expect is that you simply provide us with their contact details. An email address suffices. And what happens is that we send them a very short questionnaire. Like that, everybody gets asked the same questions and all references are treated very fairly. It also saves a lot of time for your referees. Now, we also have a few administrative documents to provide, such as your degree certificates, your transcripts. We require that you give us an up-to-date CV, which is, of course, a standard, and a passport document because we need to ensure that you are currently in a situation to travel to France. All right. Do we have another slide on this, Jinnie? Or I think, no, that's it. So, of course, do we have any questions? Should we open the floor for admissions questions, or are just all questions at this point?
Why don't we just open it up to questions? Yeah. Oh yeah, here, I'll just stop my slides.
No, that's fine. And while we're waiting for some other things to pop up, I think just to feed off of what Simon was saying, I think, you know, I also have, of course, read through all the essays, and I think what's not important is to, and this would go for when you apply to any school, I don't think you need to say how wonderful we are, things like that. What we want to find out really is why the city itself fits with you, why the school fits with you, why is there an alignment? So really at an MBA level, you should be able to express yourself in a way to prove to us why this is the best thing for you and for us. What value are you going to add to the program? And feel confident in that, because you may say, I was, for example, we actually had a student who graduated and she was actually a concert violinist. Okay, so nothing to do. I mean, she had a musical background, actually. She had a bachelor's in music. And she was one of the most successful MBAs coming out of the program. And she immediately got a job at ST Microelectronics. I mean, completely, you know, as Jinnie was saying, if you're going to change, you know, roads, that's fine. We don't have a problem with that. What we want to see from you is the ability to really make that argument to show us who you are. And don't be scared if you're not, you know, Mr. Analytic or Mrs. Analytic or, for example, finance background, engineering. You know, really, it could be something completely diverse. And that's actually what is adding to the richness of the program, is not just different cultures, but also different backgrounds, different experiences. Someone comes in with, I don't know, he's the head of one department. That's great. That's wonderful. One person comes in, expert violinist. And what's good is they're going to challenge each other. So different viewpoints, different backgrounds, you're going to challenge each other, and it's going to help you in the whole thought process. But what we want is people who are curious, I'd be honest. And dedicated.
Allow me to take a question that's in the chat room here. So I'm going to
Please.
answer Pankaj. So who says that they have an IELTS score of 7, but it's just slightly over 2 years old. I think that's okay. You can provide that with us, given that we're also going to be having an interview with you. We will allow it. It's usually not accepted, but as you have a good score on your IELTS, and because Chahndra will also have a conversation with you during the admissions process, you can go ahead and submit that IELTS score, and we will process it. It's okay. However, for Nicholas's question, I think I would rather let Chahndra answer that one.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Jinnie to help moderate as far as the questions go. But I can see.
How about I read the question aloud for the recording?
Oh, sorry,
Perfect.
Chahndra, I thought you had it there for you.
No, it's okay.
All right, so here's actually, this is a very good question about the program duration being 10 months. But, you know, the post, so then maybe Chahndra, you can explain a little bit how it's the 10 months plus internship, and why we kind of mention over the 2 years for the 33, you know, the tuition fees covering 2 years, basically is to encompass all of the post 10 months activities. So perhaps you can dive into this a bit.
No, that's exactly it. In fact, so it's 10 months intensive. That means you're going to come in the very beginning of September. We normally start the teaching like mid-September, let's say the 16th. The full week before that, you have the induction week. And even the week before that, there's a pre-induction week where we're going to offer you the service of, you come in, we'll give you specifically for MBA a free couple of sessions on kind of a warm-up session for French. We're going to be talking about French administration, the French healthcare system, things like that, so that you get your bearings, because it's not an easy process in any country that you're going to be going to, is to finding your way through the administrative process. And you're going to be studying all the way through, let's say, mid-June. So it's going to be September through June. Basically, it's going to be face-to-face, hands-on, intensive courses, studying, etc. After that, starting in mid-June or July, or up until September, that's your time to make sure that you've gotten your job. Obviously, you've been looking for it for a few months before. You've been starting to talk to companies, etc., and you get your internship, your job, or whatever have you. And that, plus writing your thesis, is going to run you all the way up through the end of January, basically. So this actually, we're talking about semesters now. So when we talk about 2 year, it's actually 10 months intensive face-to-face. You can do your internship or job wherever you want in the world. That's wonderful. So you're not stuck in Grenoble for more than 10 months. I wouldn't say stuck in Grenoble because it's not a bad place to be. But you're going to be doing your thesis, you're going to be doing your research, things like that. Again, you can do it from anywhere you want in the world. You can go back home, you can go to another country, whatever it is. And then your graduation, that means when we officially recognize the fact that you are an MBA graduate, happens at the end of March. Because we need that time period to grade your thesis, to give feedback, things like that, to allow people to retake or resubmit. And so you have a diploma at the end of March. So that hangs over into that fourth semester. So we would say a 2-year program. But if you think about it, obviously September through the end of March of the next year, it's not actually 2 years, but it's 4 semesters. So, sure.
Thank you. We're kind of coming up on the hour. So I think one question that would be great, that comes up quite a bit, is perhaps we can talk about financial aid and scholarships.
Okay.
Maybe would like to, both of you could kind of talk about some of the financial aid and scholarships available to students and where they can find resources.
Yeah. Well, I think the
well-
basic ones. Do you want to cover the basic ones, and I'll talk about the chairs?
Sure, yeah, that's a good idea. So essentially, during your online application process, we do have a separate form that you can fill out. Don't worry, you'll be guided through the process on the platform. And also, if you're in contact with our international recruitment officers, they will be able to guide you through that process as well. We have several scholarships that you can apply for on our online platform through a separate form. We simply ask that you provide us with some essays to justify why you feel you're eligible for X or Y scholarship. Now we provide scholarships around um, academic excellence, but also more scholarships around the idea that you're going to be bringing program diversity to the cohort. So like Chahndra was explaining earlier, people with very diverse backgrounds, may they be culturally or professionally speaking. And also a sort of a sense of a solidarity scholarship for people maybe coming from very underprivileged areas or backgrounds. You can read the descriptions of each of the scholarships that are provided for the MBA candidates. They can provide certain sums that will come and deduct the cost of tuition fees. We don't offer scholarships that cover any living fees, however. Now that's entirely up to the candidates to figure out. But we do have also a space on our website that allows you to, depending on your situation, identify different funding opportunities that might be available for you. Now, I will put the link in our chat room here. It's called our GEM Financial Advisor Tool, and we love it because it really helps candidates, given any situation in which they are, identify what might be available to them, because certain countries and certain places have different schemes available for candidates. So I'm putting it in the chat room right now. We highly recommend that you consult it and see if you're eligible for something that could help you finance your studies. And I'll let Chahndra take over with the chairs.
Okay.
Just
So
one question, because you brought something up there, Simon, that I think is important when budgeting to come to Grenoble. Grenoble is one of the more affordable cities. There are, housing for students, but it is something to consider when studying abroad, that, covering the finances for your year while you're there, because you probably won't have time to work because you'll be working intensive for those 10 months. You can estimate about, say, 850 to 1,200 euros a month in living expenses. So if that gives you a little bit of an idea of how to make that decision and to transition to Grenoble.
Yeah. Unless, of course, you've got, I think you can get student housing. I don't think it's perhaps as long. So just quickly, we have two scholarships that are going to be launched this year. They're going to be very much aligned with our values as a school. The first one is Women and Economic Renewal. So this is basically women, especially in STEM or entrepreneurial ventures, who are coming from a disadvantaged situation and they need a boost. So we want to kind of have a more solidarity with women who need a boost in that direction. I can say that currently the cohort is 50% women and 50% men. So we're not doing it specifically to include more women, because we do think that it's important to have diversity in the classroom, and that means more equality as far as the numbers go. The second one is aligned with our UNESCO chair, Culture for Economic Peace. And that basically, if you go to our GEM website, you can learn a little bit more about that chair. And then you can basically give us a statement about why you believe that you've either done some project in the past, or this is really the project that you're working on going into the future, and why you would be justified in receiving that. This is a special MBA grant, basically, and what it would be is the scholarship would be reduced by 50%. So it's very substantial. There will only be one person who is selected, up to one person, shall I say. If nobody applies or nobody is aligned with that, then we won't be doing it. But for both of those programs, so either Women for Economic Renewal or the Chair for Culture for Economic Peace. So those are the two that we're focused on at the moment. And maybe more coming in the future, but at the moment, those are the two I think that we most strongly align with and we'd like to support people in doing. Quickly, also, I saw that there was another question about average work experience for the MBA from Puneet, sorry. And that's a really good question. So the average age coming in on the last cohort was, I think, 30 years old. And the average work experience, I think, was between 7 and 9 years. I can't remember exactly which, but some people come in with 20 years experience. I have someone who's in their second year right now from the Philippines, 20 years in marketing experience. I have another girl who 12 years in marketing at Chahndra from India as well, etc. So I would say absolutely not less than 3 years. That is really important because otherwise it's difficult to participate in the way that we would expect you to. So in general, people have average of, yes, 7 to 9 years experience, married, children. It's very diverse. So, but definitely more mature. And as far as alumni involvement and fostering the growth of alumni community, obviously, like I say, that's near and dear to me because as alumni from the program myself, I'm fostering the growth through working on this platform, inviting more alumni into the classroom. So that's either remotely or physically into the classroom. A lot more mixers, like I say, 5 mixers per year is huge. And remember, you're with us for, if you're in the area, 2 years. So that's amazing. And I'm also working with the alumni who come back to us and say, hey, by the way, I've got this job. And again, doing the quarterly workshops or conferences. And I'm also open to any feedback. So the fact that I am alumni means I'm really, really interested, not just in the success of the program, but also the future of the people signing up and the alumni who are exiting. So we're very close, I would say, which I think is really important.
All right, there's so much more we could all share, but we don't want to keep you. It's been an hour. But I think all 3 of us are transplants to Grenoble, as you can hear our accents as well, and alumni, and clearly, we're near and dear to us as well. So we could have answered quite a bit more, but please join us again for maybe future info sessions, and we'll cover some of these other topics about life in Grenoble, the ecosystem, and dive a little bit more into the program.
Oh,
So,
Jinnie, maybe one question that was important,
sure.
actually. Dia asked an important question. I think this is important for everyone who's looking at an MBA, which is the size of the cohort. I would warn you against going into a program where you become anonymous and you are lost in the crowd. Our program is intimate, which means that we have around 20 to 30 students, which means you're going to have a lot more time working with the teachers, speaking in the class, engaging, a lot more sharing time and a lot more private time. And teachers are very accessible. They answer your emails. I mean, they don't live in an ivory tower. They're really involved in the program. And so I think that the ideal number is around 30 students for an MBA. So need some diversity, but also you need some time to shine and to participate and to work. So that's it.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And again,
Thanks.
if you have any questions at all, please feel free to send us an email, and we'll share with you our slides and the recording for today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody, for
Jinnie.
attending.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Thanks for your questions.
Good evening. Thank you.
Bye.